On today's episode of the Titus Show, the Final Four is set, and just as we all expected at the start of the year, it is San Diego State versus Florida Atlantic, and it is Miami versus UConn. Jake Marsh is joining me, as he has throughout the NCAA tournament, to talk about the games we just saw. Just got done watching Miami with an absolutely insane comeback to beat Texas. Down 13, I think, with 13 minutes to play. Jordan Miller has 27 points, perfect from the field, perfect from the free throw line. I thought this game was over. I was preparing for the show, putting together my notes about Texas, putting together my notes about Rodney Terry getting the job, putting together, TJ Ford in the crowd. Will Texas get over the hump? What does the Texas UConn game look like? And as Miami has done all season, they remind us that the game is never over with Miami. They always have a chance to play their way back into any deficit they're facing. Come back, beat Texas, go into their first ever Final Four. What a scene that was. Meanwhile, South Florida in general is the epicenter of college basketball. Jake Marsh's beloved home there. We got Florida Atlantic Owls beating Kansas State in the Garden. You're just on fire, Jake.
Yeah,
You're on fire.
You also can't forget the Miami women in the Elite Eight and a school named Nova Southeastern University in Broward County, which is in between FAU and Miami. They just won the D2 National Championship yesterday.
Oh my God, South Florida is college basketball.
They know ball. We know ball.
And the University of South Florida almost hired Mike Bray there for like 5 minutes.
Exactly.
And then didn't.
Yep.
Also, San Diego State won today, beat Creighton in an absolute rock fight, a game that I tweeted at one point. I thought there were more injuries than made three-pointers, and I don't know if I was joking. It really felt that way. There was blood everywhere. There were guys holding different body parts. It all comes down to a foul call that was controversial that I don't really want to spend a ton of time talking about because it's clear that people don't actually care about the foul call. They just care about their bets winning. So maybe we won't really talk about that much. But San Diego State moves on to their first Final Four. We have three programs making their first Final Four, Jake. It is incredible. I think like the casual fan might be out on this Final Four. I don't know. We could talk about that a little bit. But those of us that have been following the sport know that these are four really, really, really good teams, despite what their seeds say. And UConn obviously being the fourth. I didn't mention them yet, but they are absolutely dominant, probably the favorite to win this thing. There's a ton to be excited about, ton to talk about. We'll do our best to hit it all coming up. All right, let's start with the game we just watched, Jake. The Miami Hurricanes beat Texas 88-81. I credit to Miami coming back. Miami's a very good team. I'm framing this as a Texas choke job. Texas was in total control. They stopped playing. They forgot who they were playing, I think. I think there was an element of that you forgot that like Miami has so many weapons and so many dudes that will not stop playing at any point in time, even if it's even if they're down 13. Miami won the last 13 minutes, Jake, 37-17. The last 13 minutes of this game, Miami won by 20. I want to talk about Miami. I want to give Miami the praise they deserve, but this is an absolute gut punch loss for Texas, especially with the Final Four happening in the state of Texas. They would have had UConn, so it's not like the bracket broke wide open where like the national championship was on a platter for Texas because UConn is playing insanely good basketball right now. So I don't think we need to do like that whole what if of like they just squandered away an obvious national championship or anything like that. But to be up 13 with 13 to play, to be in total control of the game, it was a game that Texas was very comfortable playing. Miami likes to get up and go. Texas does too. Texas is so deep. They just look like the better team for 27, 28 minutes of this game. And then it's like they just stopped playing. And credit to Miami for not giving up and for clawing back in this thing and then like getting the stops defensively. This is a Miami team that has not played great defense for most of this season. And I don't know what the story of this Miami basketball team is because yes, they won the ACC, but I don't think that like if you followed Miami this year, they looked like a Final Four, like not just a Final Four team, Jake. They beat Houston and Texas, two teams that were highly thought of all season that looked like they could win the national championship. To beat those two teams going into this Sweet 16 and Elite Eight, I have no choice but to believe Miami is some sandbagging sons of bitches because where's the defense? The last 13 minutes of defense they played against Texas, I have not seen that defense from Miami all season. They were incredible. And now you're talking yourself into like, I mean, UConn looks dominant, but like, I mean, Miami's got the guard play. Miami is has got the pace. They're averaging like, I think they're over 80 points a game now in the tournament. This team's averaging 80 points a game in the tournament.
Yeah, I mean, 63 against Drake. By the way, they almost lost to Drake. We had them in the bracket busters, and that was a coin flip game down to the wire. But since then,
Drake had him on the ropes. Drake had him. I mean, but to that point, like Texas, did you forget who you were playing? Like this is what Miami does. Miami, it goes the other way though. Like Miami has squandered some leads that they've had in the past, and they'll fumble away like a big lead. But they're never out of any game, and like they're just the way they play and the how many weapons they have. And Jordan Miller could not miss today, and Nigel Pack is awesome. Like the fact that like Isaiah Wong won ACC Player of the Year, and there are times you watch Miami and it feels like he's the fourth best player on the team, which has nothing to do with Wong. It's not like Wong is not good. It's just like that's how many weapons that this team has.
And Omier.
Yeah, Norchad Omier is I think might be their best player, certainly their most valuable player. He's the one guy that like if you told Miami guys, if you told Miami fans to rank like the players you cannot do without, I think Norchad Omier is at the top of the list. I don't know. This team is they're sandbagging sons of bitches. That's the only thing I could say. And I know they won the ACC, and I know like Miami fans are like, we've been good all year. You just haven't. You lost to Florida State a month ago at home.
That was a crazy buzzer beater. But yes, they lost.
But still, like, how are you in that position to lose?
Was awful Florida this year. Yeah,
off of FSU's terrible. You're right. It was like crazy, but yeah, the reason they lose to Florida State and the reason they almost lose to Drake, but then they keep winning and they could beat the best teams they could very easily win this national championship is because Miami like almost doesn't even play basketball. They're just hooping. They're just dudes out there that are hooping. And more often than not, when that happens in college basketball, it's like a derogatory way to describe a team because you think it's a coach who just rolls the balls out and has no control over these guys. And they just look like an AAU team that was put together, 10 minutes ago. Miami's like the good version of that, where like defenses don't know how to guard these guys because it feels at times like these guys don't even know what they're running. They're just like out there hooping, playing open gym, and they're so talented and so good and so versatile. And the same thing defensively. That's why like sometimes their defense looks like Swiss cheeses because it looks like they haven't really practiced it, but they're like, we'll figure it out by the end of the game. And that's kind of what happened against Texas. Was like Texas was getting any shot they wanted, and then suddenly you blink and you look up and you're like, is this Miami team the best defensive team in the country? They're getting stops like crazy. It was, I don't know what happened, but like somebody out there went on a walk. Someone out there was like, this game's over. I'm going to go walk my dog. And they came back and saw that Miami ended up winning. That was what this type of game was it was very much in control. You saw enough to know where it was going, and Miami just will not quit. And for that reason, like, I don't know how you can bet against them moving forward because I don't know what the spread is opening with UConn Miami. I don't know what it's 6? 6 is what I saw 10 minutes ago. It could have changed. I understand rationally. My brain says, of course, UConn.
5.5.
UConn is obviously the better team. UConn has been the better team all season. UConn has the weapons. UConn has the depth. UConn. How can you, if you've been watching Miami, how could you ever think that Miami's out of any game? How could you? I don't. It's incredible. It's incredible.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic stuff. And to your point earlier about just rolling the balls out and letting them have fun, I feel like a lot of that is the culture built by Jim Larrañaga, right? Because he's been here before. Obviously, took George Mason to the Final Four in 06, and Matt Norlander tweeted out Tracy Wolfson's one of her last sideline hits. He told us, guys, where else would you rather be? Are you having any fun yet? He's just loose, like.
He's a loose coach, yeah.
It's crazy,
and that's that. But I guess that's the point. Is like that's a great point, Jake, because he's a roll the balls out and play kind of guy. But that is on purpose. That is not like a deficiency on his end where he's like, like he can't actually coach them. So he's like, you guys figure. Yeah, I don't know. There's a very distinct difference between the way he approaches it and maybe some of these other guys who just get 5-star recruits and they don't know what the hell to do with them. This is very much a conscious decision on Jim Larrañaga's part, is to instill confidence in his guys, and it's showing up at the right time. I mean, this is like I shouldn't be so surprised. This team won the ACC. Now the ACC stunk this year, as we said last show. I don't think this stuff erases the conference strength, like I don't think you can now say, well, maybe the ACC didn't stink, and maybe the Big 12 that we said was the best conference in the country, maybe because they have no teams in the Final Four, maybe the Big 12 wasn't actually that good. And oh my God, was Conference USA in the Mountain West better than the Big 12? No, the answer is no, they were not. They were not. We have a lot of data. We have a lot of games to go off of. Like, it's not like we build these narratives based off nothing. But at the same time, I guess what I was saying is like Miami won the ACC, but the ACC did stink. But they did win the ACC, and maybe we shouldn't be so surprised. And maybe like the way they do play and the fact that they went to the Elite Eight last year, this should not be so surprising. I guess like as this run has unfolded, I become less and less surprised. It was more that like Texas for so long in this game had it. They just had it, and Texas get going and want to get up and down. Texas is like, we have guards too. Watch this. Watch Serge Rice off the bench. Like you guys don't have that. We have that. And it just felt like Texas was very comfortable with where the game was at. And in the snap of a finger, Miami just like learned how to play defense or something. It was crazy. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it could be just the vibe in that locker room or the huddle down the stretch. I mean, going back, rewinding a little bit to Friday, you saw Jim Larrañaga dancing in the locker room and how loose and fun it was after they beat Houston. So I think that's just the culture, and the culture works in these moments. Obviously, he did it with George Mason. He took them to the Elite Eight last year when they had no business being there. So he's a tournament coach, and tournament coaches obviously make these runs. That's why Tom Izzo's Mr. March. That's why Musselman's Mr. March in waiting. Jim Larrañaga is a sneaky Mr. March, if we want to add him to the list.
He's Senior March. He's got the little tilde in Larrañaga, so he's like Senior March.
Yeah, and remember, so last year was their first time in the tournament since 2018. It took a Sister Jean miracle buzzer beater to knock them out in the first round. They were a 6 seed that year against Loyola. So it's like it takes a lot to knock this man out of the tournament.
Dude, there's so many instances in the tournament, by the way, of like first round games that come down to the wire. I mean, shit, if we're gonna talk about Florida Atlantic, the Memphis game.
Oh my God.
Florida Atlantic could have very easily lost in the first round, and we have no Florida Atlantic story. And like the entire arc of Dusty May's career is different. The entire, the way we think about all this is, and maybe, Penny Hardaway's in the Final Four. But that is so fascinating. I completely forgot about that. That like if Miami doesn't lose that game, there is no Sister Jean.
Right.
Maybe Jim Larrañaga is Mr. March. Maybe he's like, this is his second Final Four that he's gone to now. I don't know. That's what makes this tournament great. All the what ifs, the little butterfly effects that we always remember the big ones, though. You always remember, like, what if Christian Laettner didn't make the shot against Kentucky? But no one ever remembers, like, the first round terrible call on a jump ball that should have been a foul.
Yeah. I mean, the game wasn't over if they called it a foul, but it would have changed heavily. So.
Yeah, man. So Miami is an impossible team to peg because your brain is saying like they only shot 2 for 8 from 3. By the way, that was fascinating to me in this game because they were hitting everything against Houston. And you feel like what makes this Miami team go is they have so many shooters that can spread the floor. I guess the threat of the shots, could be a reason they got so many good looks driving to the basket and I mean they shot 59% from the field. But they were only 2 for 8 from 3.
Where they won this game? The free throw line.
What's that?
The free throw line. They just did not
28
miss.
for 32 from the free throw line.
And Miller was perfect, 13 for 13. And they were all, I don't know if we can like rate free throw makes on how good they are, how wet they are. Like none of them were even remotely close to missing.
Yeah. Yes, they I was thinking of the Woogler Poplar. That's what I thought you were gonna say. They won the game on the when he threw it off his back and
that was sick too. Yeah, the Calvin Cambridge. But
that's a great example of just like how loose they are and how. But my final point, I guess, on Miami, Jake, the take home point is that your brain says at some point they got to cool off. At some point, they're not going to shoot 88% from the free throw line. They're not going to hit 11 threes every game like they did against Houston. They're not like at some point they're just going to be bricking all these shots. Their defense, which isn't a stalwart, for 40 minutes every time they take the floor, that's going to come back to bite them. It sort of felt like this might be the game where that was the case. I mean, it felt like Texas was getting any shot they won. You're like, damn. The Miami run is coming to an end. And that, kids, is why we teach defense right here. This is why we teach. So your brain's saying this is going to happen, but like something my heart is saying maybe not, maybe this is like, this tournament has been so crazy and has gotten to the point where you throw out everything you thought you believed about like what it takes to win in March. Now a lot of it's very similar. A lot of, guard play is still very, very important, if not the most important thing, and all these teams have had great guard play to get here. But all these new programs that have never been here, all these lower seeds that are great teams, but they're seeded how they are for whatever reason. There's not a ton of NBA talent on these teams. There's not like the NBA draft. Who's the first guy that's going to get drafted? That's going to be playing in this Final Four, like Jordan Hawkins.
Yeah.
Hawkins will, like he could play his way into a lottery, I guess. But like before this Final Four run, he going to be he's a fringe first rounder, So this is not. These teams are not stacked with NBA talent. They're not stacked with coaches that have been there before in terms of winning national championships. These aren't schools that have done it all. It's just crazy. So now I'm looking up and I'm like, I don't know, maybe offense wins championships. Maybe Miami's going to do this by just, never missing. Maybe that's the strategy. You have to make shots to win at this level, and Miami's going to make all the shots, and they're going to win the national championship because they don't miss.
I mean, the farther you get in this tournament, the less you have to rely on making shots. They only have to do it for 2 more games. Like 2 weeks ago.
It's true.
Oh, they have to do it for 6 games to win it all. Now look, like just get hot.
That's true.
Just get hot 2 more times.
You just have to get hot 2 more times. That's all you have to do. Got to take a second to talk about Rhoback Activewear. It is the best time of year, and there's no better way to spend it than with Rhoback. That first weekend of the college basketball tournament may be the best weekend of all of sports, and it isn't the same without Rhoback. Rhoback's performance hoodies are the softest, stretchiest hoodies in the game. They're moisture wicking too, so when you're sweating out that bed or bracket buster, Rhoback's hoodies will get you through. Their performance Q-zips are the definition of versatile, perfect to rock in an arena or on your couch, and Rhoback's performance joggers are made for March. They're flexible, allowing for easy movement and celebration when that buzzer beater falls. Rhoback has been gaining traction big time after partnering with stars Armando Bacot and Kihei Clark. These guys are on a roll. So use the code Titus on Rhoback.com for 20% off your first purchase. That's RHOBACK.com for 20% off all hoodies, quarter zips, polos. Hey, polos, golf season, everybody. It's around the corner. Go get some Rhoback polos for when you're hitting the links this spring and summer. And also the joggers. Use code Titus, Rhoback.com, 20% off. Go do it. Let's talk about the other game that happened today. San Diego State beats Creighton in an absolute rock fight. It was San Diego State pulled Creighton into the mud and just beat the snot out of them. Creighton is a defensive-minded team, and Creighton, I think the Creighton teams in the past would have folded, like a house of cards. The way they were, some of the McDermott teams in the past that were very finesse, jump shooty teams would have just been broken in half by a game like this. So credit to Creighton for being right there. I mean, Creighton was in the lead for most of this game and was playing good basketball, but this was a perfect game plan from San Diego State. They knew coming in that they cannot run up and down with Creighton. They knew Creighton has a better offense. They know that at the end of the day, San Diego State is a defensive-minded team. They are not quite like they have been in the last few years where some of these San Diego State teams in the past could not score the basketball to save their lives and are just like literally trying to win games like 35-32. This team is not quite that bad, but that was how they're going to beat Creighton. And they also knew that Creighton's not super deep. Creighton goes, if McDermott could help it, he would just play a starting 40 minutes, all of them. San Diego State has horses, and they just keep cycling guys in and in and in. And eventually there's the war of attrition, and I think that's ultimately one out for San Diego State. Could have been a coin flip at the end, I guess. People were upset about the foul call. I don't know. He fouled him. Like, it's weird that the people that think it shouldn't have been called are like, yes, it was a foul, but to me, I'm like, I think that's where I think we just stopped the argument right there then, right? Like, if it was a foul, it was a foul. But yeah, it was a very ugly game. Fun ending, I guess. Not really the controversial part, but like that was close in the end. San Diego State is a very interesting team, kind of the polar opposite of Miami, and that how one-dimensional they are. They just play defense, and you worry about their offense at times, but at the same time, they know who they are, and they have done this over and over. For them to do it against Alabama the game before, like when San Diego State got to the Sweet 16, not that it felt fluky, but they beat a 13 and a 12 seed to get there, and you're like, all right, well, you're here, but now let's see what happens against Bama. Let's see what happens against a really good Creighton team. For them to advance and make their first Final Four, 2020 redemption, Jake, that they
It was them and
They
Dayton,
were one of
right?
the best teams in the country, and yeah, they were one of the best teams in the country in 2020, and had the tournament canceled. And yes, SDSU fans are over the moon, and rightfully so.
Yeah, I mean, Mountain West, like we always said.
Dude, don't do this. Don't do this.
Have you gotten people tweeting at you being like, "Don't
I've
disrespect
gotten a lot
our
of people.
conference, bro"?
So here's the thing. First of all, the Mountain West has not had a good tournament. This does not. San Diego State could win the national championship. The Mountain West had a horrendous tournament. Like this is why you go crazy about these conference narratives. Like the Mountain West, Nevada got destroyed. Utah State was a favorite against Missouri and got beat soundly. Boise State they got worked by Northwestern. So yeah, San Diego State played well. Congrats to San Diego State on the run here. It doesn't change that the Mountain West stinks, Jake, in the tournament. Like you think Nevada feels better about themselves? They lost by 30 to Arizona State in a playing game. But it does suck that they beat Alabama, the team that I picked to win the national championship.
Oh yeah, this was your legacy year.
Yeah, and I lost to a Mountain West team, Jake. So yeah, it's tough.
I forgot about that aspect.
I had Texas in the championship too, and they just choked it away to Miami, Jake. So we're not going to talk about that though. Let's move on. This is did I say it was a legacy year? When did I say that? I didn't say that on this show, did I? No. That's fake
four
news.
times the charm. Four times.
Yes. The San Diego. I feel for Creighton. Creighton was a really good team. I've said at various points throughout the season, I felt like Creighton might have the best starting five in the country. This was, I mean, Darian Trammell at the end, having the shot or hitting the one free throw.
I thought he was going to miss that second after the first.
I did too. It felt sort of poetic that he was the guy for them against Alabama too, because he's a transfer from I think they got him from Seattle.
Seattle, right?
Yeah. He comes from Seattle, and the reason they even brought this man in the first place is last year San Diego State made the tournament. They beat Creighton, or they lost to Creighton. I'm sorry, they choked away a game against Creighton in the first round. So this was like a redemption game for them in that regard. That San Diego State team last year was so defensive minded. And basically had like Matt Bradley on offense, and that was it. He averaged like 17 points a game, and no one else could score for them. They were horrendous. They were one of the worst offensive teams in the tournament last year, if not the worst. And they go out in the transfer portal, and they badly need another scorer. They get Micah Parrish from Oakland. They get Trammell from Seattle. And at times this year, like neither one of those guys, like really, like if you watch San Diego State this year, it sort of felt like they were backsliding into what their identity is. And it's like, no matter how many scorers you try to bring in the portal, at the end of the day, your jersey says San Diego State. So that means every single game you play is going to be ugly. And that was certainly the case. That was certainly the case today against Creighton. But the difference is, to have a guy like Trammell when Matt Bradley was broke today, and he did not play well against Alabama either. This is a game that San Diego State loses last year. They literally did lose to Creighton last year. But they would have lost to Alabama last year if not for Trammell. So they're not an offensive minded team. It's still ugly, but there's levels to this, Jake. And last year, the ugliness of San Diego State was like absolutely hideous. This year, you're kind of putting a little lipstick on the pig, and you can see it for what it is. That like, yes, you are still playing defensive-minded basketball. You're still playing very physical. You're still like rotating guys in and just beating the snot out of the other team. But when it comes down to it and it's a tie game and we need a bucket, you have multiple guys who could theoretically go get you that bucket. And that's what I ultimately think has led to their Final Four run, because if they don't hit the transfer portal and they kind of run back the same group of dudes, I think they win a ton of games like they did last year. But I think they end up right back with the same Mountain West problems of losing in the first round or second round.
Yeah, you know what helps too? Looking at these Final Four teams, I'm pretty sure just from the naked eye test, I think SDSU might be the oldest. I know FAU doesn't have a senior in their rotation. UConn's best player, Hawkins, a sophomore?
Yeah, they have to be the oldest. I mean, San Diego State's like, let me pull up their roster. Their everyone who sees the floor is
Bradley
like
senior, Trammell senior, Butler's a junior, Keshad Johnson senior, Parrish junior. So they're all upperclassmen. And then FAU, John L. Davis sophomore, Vlad Golden sophomore. Is Sonogo's a junior?
I can't.
Yeah, yeah.
even
Sanogo's
remember,
a
dude.
junior.
Yeah, I think he is. With COVID years, it's all very confusing.
Right. So, I mean,
Yeah.
it's just crazy. I mean, like we're seeing it different ways.
Yeah.
Jordan Miller is the only senior on Miami who contributes. So, like we mentioned, the coaching helped and the culture helped Miami get here. San Diego State, obviously, they have a great coach too, but they're leaning on their veterans, and look where it got them. That loss to Creighton last year, probably a chip on their shoulder. Definitely.
Yeah. Every single person that sees the floor for San Diego State's a senior or junior.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, their average age is their dudes are like 26, and maybe that's like Matt Bradley is, as you know, as I said, this year they went out and got more offensive weapons, and they're deeper than they were last year. So his scoring average, I just pulled it up here. Yeah, he averaged like 17 a game last year. This year he's averaging like 13 a game. And his production could be because, you know, they have more dudes to run the offense through, or it could be just simply that he's like over the hill, like he's past his athletic prime. He's so old at this point.
Yeah,
because that's everybody on their team. They're like old dudes that are just like beating the shit out of every team they play. But that was a perfect San Diego State game, and if you're new to San Diego State basketball and this iteration of what San Diego State is, like this is that was not a fluke of how they beat Creighton. That was exactly coming into the game how they sought to beat Creighton. They sought out to beat Creighton, and they held Creighton to 2 for 17 from three. I thought, to start the game, Creighton was doing a good job of not trying to force threes because, coming off the Alabama game, which we can talk about at some point if you want, because that was like I'm so mad at Nate Oates.
Yeah. Friday's Sweet 16 game seemed like irrelevant at this point, right?
I know. But coming off the Alabama game, San Diego State just runs Bama off the 3-point line, and they're so good at guarding the threes. That's they're one of the best teams in the country. I think they're number 2 3-point defense behind Tennessee. They're so good at that, and Creighton knew that's what San Diego State's strength is. So don't play into that. Don't just jack threes. Like get the ball to Kalkbrenner on these pick and rolls, and get the ball to the rim, and that way. And they were so patient with that in the first half. San Diego State makes some adjustments. They didn't really shut down Kalkbrenner, but they were just kind of more aware and were more willing to give up a little more, like loosen up the 3-point defense a little bit to shut off the pick and roll game with Kalkbrenner. And then when Creighton started shooting threes, they were still doing a good job of getting hands up, and Creighton missed a few open ones. They go 2 for 17 from the 3-point line. I just think like the way San Diego State plays defense is so perfectly suited for it's a bad matchup for Florida Atlantic as well moving forward. I mean, like, number one, San Diego State's probably has, I guess I can't say that about Florida Atlantic anymore. I was going to say they probably have a better team, but Florida Atlantic's a pretty more
good wins than anyone else in this tournament.
But Florida Atlantic relies on the three so much, and San Diego State is just like so good at taking away the three, funneling dudes into Mensa to rim protect, and that's just what they do, and that's what they're going to continue to do in this tournament. And I don't know, they knew what their strengths were going into this Creighton game. The game ended up playing right into all of San Diego State's strengths. And that's credit to Brian Dutcher and the guys. And a neutral observer, a casual college basketball fan watching that might just think that it was just a brick fest and disgusting basketball. And it was. It definitely was. But it was by design, and that's what San Diego State was trying to do. And whether there's any merit in that, whether you're like, oh, okay, cool, now I respect that, or if you're just like, wait, really? That's what they try to do every game? That's disgusting. Get that out of my face. Either way,
like Virginia 2.0.
They did it on purpose. Yeah, exactly. They do it on purpose, and it works out for them, and they win. So yeah, do you think, like, I guess, like, as you look at these four teams, like, all of them can win the national championship, right? Usually when we come into a Final Four, there's like one or two that are happy to be there.
Right.
I think at this point they're all talking themselves into like, we could definitely win this thing. We definitely can.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, on the Barstool Sportsbook, FAU is the underdog. They're plus 600, but UConn's the heavy favorite. They're minus 134. Miami and San Diego State plus 400. So I guess it makes sense UConn's the favorite right now because they've looked the best by far. But yeah, I think really is a crapshoot, which is crazy to say. But just insane. Also, one more thing on the San Diego State Creighton game. No one's going to talk about it except us because I'm bringing it up right now. But if SDSU blew that game, that inbound
Oh
with
my
30
God.
seconds left. Oh my
If
God.
if that was Creighton's ball, Creighton couldn't have drawn up a better play for Creighton to score than San Diego State drew up for Creighton to score.
Yeah. So
that was incredible. Yeah, that would have been an all-time blunder.
everyone's going to forget about it because they won, but oh my goodness.
That would have been an all-time blunder.
Yeah.
Quick break to talk about our friends at the Farmer's Dog. Dogs will eat anything: shoes, toilet paper, garbage, and even kibble. But just because they'll eat it doesn't mean it's healthy food. Here's an idea. What if dogs ate real food? Eating processed food for every meal isn't healthy. We all know that. And kibble is subject to multiple rounds of high heat processing, making it an ultra processed food. Try something fresh. Feed your dog the Farmer's Dog. It's real, fresh, healthy food with whole meat and veggies, gently cooked in human grade kitchens to preserve their nutritional value. Just tell them about your dog and they'll deliver personalized, vet developed recipes for as little as $2 a day. Meals arrive in pre-portioned, ready-to-serve packs, conveniently delivered on your schedule. Dog people all across the country have ordered millions of meals from the Farmer's Dog, yours included. I finally got set up for Moses. We got the Farmer's Dog rolling. He's gonna love it. I know he's gonna love it. I was looking through what they're gonna send him, and oh my God, he's gonna be on cloud nine. It has never been easier to invest in your dog's health with fresh food. Get 50% off your first box of fresh, healthy food at thefarmersdog.com/Titus. Plus, get free shipping. Just go to thefarmersdog.com/Titus for 50% off. Thefarmersdog.com/Titus. Go do it now. We'll talk about Florida Atlantic and UConn in a second and their wins, but since we're talking about San Diego State, I have to talk about Nate Oates in Alabama because
Yes.
the arrogance from this team, this program. I am kicking myself now for hitching myself to this wagon, obviously, but the logic was sound, Jake. They were the best team. They were the most athletic team. They were up like 13, weren't they? Or 11, 9, whatever. What they were up,
9 with 11:40 at the
9?
under 12, 11:40.
Which 9 against San Diego State might as well be 40.
Double it.
9 against San Diego. Like, are you serious? You're up 9 points in the second half on a team that can't shoot to save their lives, and you blew it. It was just pure arrogance on behalf of Alabama, and for Brandon Miller to have literally the single worst NCAA tournament of all time, according to whatever that ESPN graphic I saw. That you saw this.
I didn't see it. No.
I think he had the minimum 35 shot attempts. He had the lowest field goal percentage in the history of the NCAA tournament, or at least since like 1989 or some. I don't know.
I'm looking at the box score now. I didn't realize how poorly he shot. 3 of 19.
For Nate Oates to be down 2 with 48 seconds left and think that he's smarter than everybody else and foul, Jake, to intentionally foul that. Oh, I was on a plane watching this game, like screaming. I'm screaming, like, what are you doing? And as soon as he fouls, I forget who was calling the game. They were explaining that Nate Oates is a genius. Like, folks, for those of you watching at home, you might not be aware of this. Nate Oates is actually a genius.
That was Ian Eagle and Spinarkle.
Ian Eagle, yeah. Yeah, it was Jim Smarnarkle. Was like, as it turns out, Nate Oates, former math teacher, so he's kind of a genius and he knows the numbers. And so he's down 2, and all he needs is one stop with one of the best defenses in the country, and then he can put the ball in a top 5 pick's hands to hit a shot to either tie it or win the game. That's all he really needs to do. But Nate Oates is smarter than all of you, so he's going to go ahead and foul and extend this game. And he just handed San Diego State free points. They lost by 7. They were down 2 with 48 seconds left and lost by 7 because they kept fouling. It was mind-numbing to watch this happen. Also mind-numbing to know, as I said earlier, like San Diego State defense, they play great defense. I'm very much oversimplifying what they do. I don't mean to say that, like, if I was coaching a team, we would just get wide open shots on this defense. And I know it's not how it works, but at the same time, the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over, it's not working. How many times is Nate Oates just going to sit there and let Javon Quinterly challenge Mintz at the rim and get his shit stuffed and not say, like, hey, Javon, what if we did a little pull-up, a little bit of mid-range? What if we sprinkled in a few mid-range shots? But he doesn't do that because Nate Oates is smarter than everybody, and Nate Oates has the Daryl Morey mindset to basketball, which is that every shot should be a 3 or a layup, which those are the 2 things that San Diego State guards the best. You could have gotten unlimited mid-range shots against San Diego State. Unlimited. Javon Quinterly could have shot every single time down the floor from the elbow wide open, They did not want to do that because there's like an arrogance in Alabama basketball that like we've solved the riddle that no one else has solved. So we're going to only shoot threes and only shoot layups. And I saw a lot of people talking about like, does Nate Oates rely too much on the three? Can you win relying on the three? And some people are like, well, Villanova in 2018 relied a lot on the three and they won. Jay Wright was smart enough to know that, like, if Jay Wright was coaching this game, he would have been like, hey, Jalen Brunson, come here, watch this. So you notice, like, in the middle of the floor, how they let you drive right past him, and then the big guy that just blocks every shot when you try to go to the rim? What if you just pull up from like 6 feet and shoot a little floater? You'll hit that all game. And Jalen Brunson would have said, yeah, coach, say no more. And that's how Villanova would win. And that's why Villanova won a national championship. That's why Alabama can't get past the Sweet 16. It's pure arrogance. It's hubris. It disgusts me that I picked this team, Jake. I'm so mad. I was so mad then. I'm still so mad. They were the best team in the country. They had a wide open path to a national championship, and they blew it because of arrogance. They had no business losing this game. You're up by 9 on San Diego State. You could have just played defense. You could have just, like, forget the offensive part. If you're up 9 on San Diego State with however much time you said was left,
11:40.
If you just lock in on defense, you're going to win the game. Like, San Diego State does not want to score the bad. I was irate. I was irate. So credit to San Diego State for
making you mad.
Making me mad. You made me so. It had nothing to do with San Diego State. It just had to do with Alabama because I just couldn't believe, like, over and over and over that and you just think but that, to that point, like, that's the difference between the NBA and college basketball is, like, Nate Oates runs his little algorithms and his models. And, like, yeah, we all get it. I understand the math behind why you only want to shoot layups and threes. That makes total sense to me. If we were playing best of 7 series, like, all of these, like, models and fucking algorithms and shit, like, all of them are based on over the long run. That's what you'll always hear people say is, like, so if you do it this way over the long run, we'll see that XYZ will be the results, right? The NCAA tournament, there is no long run. There's one game. There's the game in front of you. If you lose this game, you go home. Oh, I was fired up. Sorry for yelling, Jake.
No, that's fair.
I'm not yelling at you. I'm yelling at Nate Oates. You just have to
listen.
get that off my chest.
We take our brackets very seriously. We don't really participate in the Barstool Sportsbook world. If you do, bet responsibly. So our brackets are everything for us. It's our reputation. This is about more than money.
It's our reputation.
Thank you. So,
this is my legacy, Jake.
Yes. When Arizona got knocked out by Princeton, I was pissed off. The way you're feeling right now, I got it out of the way 2 weeks ago because my team couldn't win a game. So you're just a little bit delayed.
Yeah, I'm just a little bit delayed, but no, San Diego State. This is why going in that game, though, I said this is going to be a bad matchup. Credit to you, by the way. You called Miami over Houston, and I kind of scoffed at that because I thought Houston matched up well with Miami, and I still think they did. I just, like, Miami just chose to not miss any shots, period. And Houston, I was so disappointed in Houston's fight. Like, Houston just kind of rolled over there, and, like, there was no like that. The reason you talk yourself into Houston winning a national championship this year was. And why I thought Miami would be a bad matchup is because I felt like they were similar teams, except Houston had the proverbial dog in them, Jake. I felt like Houston was like, when it comes down to it, we're gonna dig deep and, like, play some junkyard dog defense and, like, take some pride in this shit. And they Miami just started hitting on them. They're like, well, damn, guess it's not our night. I guess we'll just pack it up and go home.
Friday was a foursome of duds, really, right? Texas blew out Xavier, San Diego State. We talked about Alabama. Miami won by 14 against Houston, and then Creighton, Princeton. Princeton tried to fight. Great job, Cinderella, but they never had a shot down the stretch. So,
yeah. Well, you did call Miami.
Did I? I'll be honest, I forget that. A lot's happened since then. I called it, right?
Yeah, let me let in on a little secret, Jake. If someone says you called it, don't even ask whether you did or not. Just say, yeah, I definitely did.
Yeah,
you did. I remember you saying Houston. I remember you saying Miami could give Houston problems. I was like, I don't love that matchup for Miami because I felt like Houston was kind of similar to Miami except better. But Miami just, like, broke their spirit. That was what was crazy to me watching that one. But anyway, I kind of said going into the San Diego State Bama game that San Diego State was a bad matchup because I knew that that Bama wanted to shoot threes. I knew San Diego State would take that away, and I thought at some point somebody would adjust. I thought Brandon Miller would, like, take some pride in, like, I don't know, maybe his groin was hurting more than I don't know what the hell happened, but, like, a guy that talented to just completely disappear in the NCAA tournament was staggering. Especially, you could point to all the off-the-court stuff and people talking shit about him, and and maybe a lot of it's warranted. Some of it is overblown, and people have misheard things and have false ideas of like what this man did. But the when that story broke, he was playing the best basketball of his life.
Yeah.
Like you know what I mean? Like when he was dealing with all that adversity, if that's what you want to call it, which, it's probably a better word for it. When he was initially dealing with all that, he was playing incredibly. So I don't think that was the issue. I don't know what the hell happened. I don't know if he was more hurt than he let on. I don't know if he just actually kind of sucks. It's going to be really, really confusing when the like guys like my dad watch the NBA draft and they see Brandon Miller taking third, and he's like, wait, the kid I watched in the NCAA tournament? Like, what the hell is the NBA doing? I can't, what is this league? What's becoming of this league? In the same way that Paolo Banchero went number 1 after Brady Manick ate his lunch in the Final Four.
Yeah, I mean, I guess these scouts just value the first 31 games, and game number 32 is like, all right, you showed us enough.
Yeah, I know, and they value the skill set and the size, and athleticism. And I know how it happens.
This is the extended portion of your rant.
Yes. It's just like, as a kid that grew up in the 90s, used to like watching whoever dominates college basketball then becomes the number 1 pick. Like, that's just kind of how it works.
Yeah.
Like, or if you're not number 1, you're like very close to it. Like, the idea of taking a guy who sucked, and the idea of taking like a Jalen Williams from Santa Clara, who's now maybe going to win Rookie of the Year.
Like right now,
I feel like that never happened.
Right now, Markquis Nowell is 1-1 in the NBA draft.
Yeah, right. Markquis Nowell.
Because he's had the best performance in the last 2 weeks.
Right. This is how I like to think about the NBA draft. Is like Markquis Nowell, like
Sanogo, Hawkins, lottery.
Yes. John L. is up there.
Yep.
Yeah.
We're basically naming the all-tournament team.
Norchad Omier. I'm giving him a look. Is he Draymond Green? People are asking. Is he the new Draymond? Yeah, Brandon Miller has slid to my second round on my mock, I think, based on what I saw in this tournament. No, I don't know. I can move on. But San Diego State this is not a fluke. I did not believe in this San Diego State team because like coming into the tournament as much, I didn't think they were going to go to the Final Four, obviously, because I did feel like this team was they tried their best to be different. They tried their best to bring some offensive approach, but I just felt like we were destined to see the same San Diego State story we've seen in the NCAA tournament every year. But to their credit, they do have enough weapons. They can't score. They still are like winning these rock fights, but they were living in the mid range against Alabama. Trammell was hitting those mid range pull ups and making plays on the offensive end. They scored 71 points against one of the best defenses in the country. So yeah, I don't know. I'm talking myself into San Diego State. I'm talking myself into every one of these teams, Jake. This tournament has turned on its head. It's crazy.
At this point,
we have a 5 seed versus a 9 seed and a 5 seed versus a 4 seed.
Yeah, meanwhile, those two 5 seeds, I believe we both had them going down in the first round. Shout out Drake and Charleston.
What happened to the 12-5 upset?
15. I think I said this on your show last week. 15-2 and 16-1 is the new 12-5.
Yeah.
12 over 5s are like almost favored at this point. Miami Drake was a 2-point spread. 2.5.
Dude, Drake, how sick is Drake right now watching Miami on this run? Like if you're a Drake player fan, they had Miami on the ropes. They had them.
We were this close to being
stop scoring.
We were this close to being this close to Ireland.
I know. We were this close to being 20 minutes away or 40 minutes away. We were this close to being 40 minutes away. But no, I mean Miami did that in the Drake game, the same thing they did in the Texas, where it's like, that's why I said it feels like they're just hooping. Mm-hmm. It just reminds you of playing open gym. Like if you're playing open gym and you're playing I don't know, say 21, nobody's playing the opening possessions like it's game point. But the second, you're a team that's down like 16-12, and if you lose, you look over to the sideline and there's like 4 teams waiting, and you're like, damn, I'm gonna have to wait like an hour and a half to get back on this floor. Suddenly you just like start playing harder. And you're like actually playing defense in a way that you haven't the entire game. That's exactly what Miami feels like. It's like they're just playing open gym. They're not even paying any attention to the score. At the under 8 timeout, the under 12 timeout, at some point in the second half, as the game's winding down, they look up at the score, they look up at the clock, and they go, "Oh shit, we're losing."
Yeah.
All right, cool. We'll play some defense now.
It'll be interesting too, because Miami and UConn, I know we're not going to get too deep into the preview, but they got to the Final Four in 2 different ways. UConn just smoked the crap out of everyone, and Miami had to grind games out. If this game gets close on Saturday night, like, does that favor Miami?
Who's got the advantage? Yeah,
because they've been in this position 3 out of their 4 games, or does UConn just ride the wave? Like, I feel like if UConn's gonna win, they're gonna win by 10 plus. If it's closer, Miami should win. I don't know.
That's a great point. Yeah, if is UConn gonna get up big and think, we're gonna do it again, where we just blow a team out? And then they're going to get snuck up on by Miami. I don't know. Quick break to talk about Gametime. This is the exclusive ticketing partner of Barstool Sports, created by fans for fans. Gametime is the ticketing app that makes it easier than ever to score last-minute deals on tickets to sports, concerts, and shows, and they guarantee the lowest price. I am so fascinated to see what the Gametime market is going to be looking like in Houston as we wind this tournament down. I don't know, 4 teams that maybe don't have the possess. I mean, UConn certainly does, but I guess the other 3 new to the party. Does that mean their fans are going to show up en masse, or does that mean it's going to be a cheaper ticket? I don't know. There's one way to find out, folks. If you are in Houston, you want to go to these games, check out the Gametime app, see what's happening on there. The purchase process takes just 2 taps and 10 seconds. And once you buy your tickets, they're delivered directly to your phone. No printer needed. The app also allows you to easily share tickets with friends via text, so you can get into the game seamlessly. Skip the hassle and enjoy the moment. Download the Gametime app or go to the website, enter your email, and redeem code Titus for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply, but just download the Gametime app, go to the website, enter your email, and enter the code Titus for $20 off your first purchase. Let's talk about Florida Atlantic, though. Let's talk about FAU, Kansas State. You were at the game, right?
I was at the game. Interviewed
good
Dusty
crowd.
May.
We were worried about the crowd.
So when we were sitting here Thursday night, getting price on the Gametime app was like $86. It was like $250 when I was walking over to the Garden. It went up so much.
Wow.
It was sold out. It was an awesome vibe. I did not have high expectations for the vibe of this game, aside from the college basketball fans that were there to see an Elite 8 game at Madison Square Garden. That's cool. But like we mentioned, not a ton of storylines in that one. In terms of brands, there were a few sub-storylines we can get into, like the Dusty May, Keontae Johnson stuff, whatever. But you look at it, face value, let's see what's happening at the Garden today. FAU, Kansas State, meh, it looks like. But
not a lot of, it didn't feel like a lot of New Yorkers would jump.
I was really impressed by the vibe there,
awesome.
And the game delivered too, obviously.
Well, I wonder how much of that was Markquis Nowell against Michigan State, because that did feel like his game against Michigan State did feel like it had an impact outside of college basketball and even outside of sports.
Yeah.
Like I'm not a guy that loves to try to say that like a city would be buzzing, especially when I'm not even there. So I'm not going to like say that, but I did see that like the New York Post or the New York Daily News, whatever all those papers are that always have these stupid headlines. It seemed like he was on the cover of all that. And like he was sort of the talk of the city. So maybe there was some of that where like people were like, I don't care about either one of these teams, but I heard there's like a 5'7" dude that's electric
from nearby.
He's playing at the Garden from nearby. He's a local kid. I want to see him play. Yeah, so maybe that's what drove the price up.
You know what it is too? I feel like for fan bases for these two teams, your team wins on a Thursday night in the Sweet 16. You're not going to fly out and go out of your way for that. You have to miss work Friday. They win in the Sweet 16. Oh, they're playing on Saturday night in New York City. I don't have to miss work. This is a chance to see my team, my school, go to the Final Four, and I can see them cut down the nets. I feel like there's a very big difference between going to your team's game in the Sweet 16 versus the Elite 8, more so than any other round, right? Round of 64, round of 32, you're happy to be in the tournament. Not much on the line. 16 versus 8, we're looking at another win in the tournament versus a chance at history and going to the Final Four. You don't want to be sitting on the couch when your team's going to the Final Four and being like, damn, I could have been there, but I'm not. You're booking that flight and going there.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good point. And especially like a program like Kansas State who has lost, I counted it up the other day.
They lost to Loyola, right?
4, 5,
the Elite
6,
8, 5 years ago.
This is 8. They've lost 8 now Elite 8 games in a row, Jake.
And they couldn't, you couldn't stay in Manhattan, Kansas and come to Manhattan, New York. That's wild. That knowing you could be there to break that streak. FAU, love Boca. This could be a once-in-a-lifetime thing. You're not missing this game.
Right, you can't miss this. Yeah, and Kansas State fans are like, we've lost 7 in a row going into this Elite 8 game. I want to be there when we finally get over the hump.
So I think that the history side compared with the scheduling, the fact that it was on a Saturday versus a Thursday, like that opens the floodgates for these fans to really get out and travel, and they did, because we were sitting in the FAU section for the first game. There were like 100 fans there, right? They had a section and a half last night.
Yeah, they lost. Kansas State lost 72-73 in 1975 in the Elite Eight. They lost. Imagine that.
My God.
That's 3 times in 4 years. Then 81, 88, 2010. After 2010 they lost to Butler, I believe, right? Yeah, they lost to the Gordon Hayward Butler team. 2018 they lost to Loyola. Every year the last 3 years they've lost to
mid-majors.
The Cinderella.
Aye.
They lost to Butler, they lost to Loyola, and now they've lost to Florida Atlantic.
Oh my
Their
God.
last 3 trips to the Elite Eight.
Jerome Tang, the next time Kansas State makes the Elite Eight, he should just like get a poster in the locker room. This is Sweet 16 Part 2.
Yeah. Just cover up all the Elite Eight signage and just say we're just back in the Sweet 16.
Yeah,
boys.
and you're playing a blue blood. Whoever you're playing, just label them FAU, blue blood, Loyola, blue blood, Butler. Yeah, tons of national championships.
They beat Kentucky and Michigan State and then lost to Florida Atlantic. Yeah, when they're playing blue bloods in the early rounds, they win. When they're playing mid majors in the Elite Eight, they're in trouble.
Yeah, that's like making you make a 50-foot putt, but you miss the 3-footer.
Let's talk about this. Let's talk about this specific game a little bit. The Markquis Nowell hero run comes to an end. I'm gonna say this. We're gonna have TJ cut it. Like after the podcast lives for about 24 hours, I'm gonna have TJ go back and edit this out. So that way, like as you know, in 5-10 years, if anyone ever discovers this podcast, this part is removed from history because I don't want to be a party to this. But I'm just. In the interest of being a big Jake, and telling the story that I saw in front of me, I have to be honest. I felt like a little too much Markquis Nowell hero ball. I felt like he was obviously the reason they were there. He was obviously the reason they were beating Florida Atlantic. I think he kind of played him out of the game, though. I feel like a little too many. Like, yeah, this is my time. This is my city, and I'm going to show you right now.
I agree. There were some ugly shots down the stretch. He did make some acrobatic ones.
But I don't want to admit that. I didn't want to. I don't want to be the guy that points that out. I didn't say it. Wasn't me. That wasn't me that said that.
Counterpoint. He gave the ball away in the final possession.
That's like worse. Like you had a misread, Markquis, on like when we wanted hero ball. We didn't want it. I can't believe. So he passed it up twice. The first one was a good play. They were down 3, and he goes like he had an open 3. The big man on Florida Atlantic, was it Golden?
Vlad Golden, yeah.
Yeah, was contesting or was closing out on him, and he could have probably shot over him, but he also saw a guy open under the basket and threw it down there and got the easy 2. I didn't think that was that bad. It would have been cool if he did shoot it. Carson Edwards would have shot it. I'll tell you that much. Yeah. Kimball Walker probably. And
you know what's interesting? He shot and made farther than where he could have pulled up at the buzzer there. He made a logo 3 and then, in the first half.
The one at the very end was egregious. I don't know why he didn't shoot that one. No one
would have been mad at him if he airballed from the logo there, because that's his game. Yeah. Like I tweeted, so it's his tournament, and someone's gonna have to work really hard to take that from him. So this is a new segment of the show called "I'm Not Saying." I'm just throwing it out there. Yeah. So no one can say that this is not my thought. This is not my opinion. We are just 2 adults. We are 2 basketball fans having a conversation. And I just want to enter this idea into the discussion, and then you and I can chew on it and see if it makes any sense. Do you think he did not shoot it because he had bought into the hero lore, the story that had been painted of him to this point? And in his mind, he thinks, if I do airball this, if I do miss this, this undoes everything I've done on this NCAA tournament run. Therefore, I'm going to pass it. So that way, Ishmasu, who's been great the last couple games, if he makes it, he can be the hero, but I'm still really the hero, and everyone's going to talk about what a great game I had. And if he misses it, he's the guy that blew it, and I'm not. So you're saying he's actually more selfish?
I'm not saying this. I'm not saying no. I'm not saying this.
You're just throwing it out there that you could argue he's being more selfish by passing it.
Yes. Okay. Yes. The classic anti-LeBron rhetoric, where it's like you're selfishly unselfish. Even though you passed it up, that's actually the most selfish play you could have made by passing it.
I'm just throwing it out there too. I'm gonna latch on to you. He's making the shot if he shoots it.
I think he does. I think he makes it. I think
and it's an all-time shot.
Yeah. It was Steph, if I remember right, Steph Curry in 08 didn't get a final shot against Kansas either.
Was it a similar situation? They're down 3?
Yeah, and his teammate like boo-fooed the ball and just like,
how much time was left? Why didn't they foul?
That's a great question. I don't know.
Damn.
I
Well,
don't
it
know.
worked out.
Yeah. Um, Florida Atlantic had 22 turnovers and won this game. This game was incredible. Kansas, I'm really sad Kansas State's going home because win or lose, they were just so fun to watch, and they were just so. I tweeted this at one point watching the game, and it's a point I want to make here that when you're watching this, every Kansas State bucket just felt so loud. It felt like it was a highlight. It felt like it was so flashy and so cool and like so deflating to Florida Atlantic, whether it was or not. You're just like, damn, if someone did that to me, I'd be like, damn, this team's good. But you almost forgot that these dunks are only worth 2 points, and the Markquis Nowell shots from the logo are only worth 3, and it just felt like the whole game Kansas State was up like 17, and then you look up and they're only up 6. And I wonder how much that played into it too, where like Kansas State's just like drinking their own Kool-Aid of like we're smoking these dudes because the Garden is I'm sure it was electric. Like people were going nuts as these plays are being made, Jake. I'm sure. So you wonder like how much of it is like them buying into their own hype and not exactly paying total attention to the score because Florida Atlantic was never really like I don't know what their biggest deficit was, but they were never really down that much. And every time I checked the score, I was shocked.
Kansas State was up 7 with 12 minutes left, and I'll tell you what a huge turn in this game was. There was 7 minutes left. KSU was up by 4. They missed a layup, a wide open layup, and then FAU hit a 3 on the other end. That's a 5-point swing.
Was that the Elijah Martin like fast break? He stepped into one on like the left wing, I want to say. That might have been later.
I'm looking at the play-by-play. Nowell missed a layup at 7:09, up 4, and then 6 seconds later, Weatherspoon made a 3. So instead of making the layup and going up 6, you missed the layup and they hit a 3 to go up 1, to stay up 1.
Yeah. That's crazy.
And FAU made their free throws down the stretch.
That's a big swing.
Forrest went 4 for 4.
Yeah.
They could have left the door open.
How do we feel about Jerome Tang going into the locker room to congratulate FAU? I don't like it.
If Coach K does it, people are reacting differently.
Yeah.
That's not an opinion. That's
a fact. That's a stone cold fact.
Yeah. Hey, what he said was great. Like it was really cool, but people are reacting differently.
We gotta do the Duke test with every instance of college basketball. This is a great. We just came up with an idea, Jake, and I think this is going to take off. The Duke test, where every time you're upset about something or not upset, like every time something happens, just basically ask yourself, what if it was Duke? And great example, Creighton San Diego State game. What if that shot was to beat Duke? What if instead of Creighton, it was Duke that fouled Trammell on the game-winning shot? Would people be mad at all? No, they wouldn't. They wouldn't be mad at all. They'd be like, they fouled him. He fouled him. Why are we not calling this?
But if Duke was San Diego State, there would be protests right now at the NCAA headquarters.
People would be irate. Yeah. Okay, bad example. You're right. If Coach K, if Duke did this, but if Elijah Martin, we said that about Fairleigh Dickinson when he tried the windmill dunk at the buzzer to beat Fairleigh Dickinson. If he did that against Duke, we'd be selling his shirt in the Barstool store. We would have shirts that say like "Suck it, K" and like Elijah Martin's doing a windmill. I don't know. We would be profiting. We would all be getting rich off of Duke's demise.
By the way,
since it happened against Fairleigh Dickinson, everyone's like, screw these scumbags, terrible sport.
By the way, this is like the Ted Lasso goldfish thing, the short memory. People forget about the missed dunk already, and they're back in love with FAU.
I know. Yeah, people are in love with FAU.
Yeah.
How can he not be?
It was such a quick, oh, you knocked out Cinderella. We hate you. Screw you. That was for one night, and now it's
lasted. Yeah. They're our team, right? They have to. FAU is our team. Dusty May's a Hoosier, and
South Florida.
They're your hometown South Florida team.
I got to interview him on the court right after the game, before he went to the podium.
I saw that.
So it was pretty cool. Huge stoolie, by the way. He said their biggest highlight in the first weekend of the tournament, clinching a spot in the Sweet 16, was meeting Dave. They just went to the Sweet 16. That was the first thing he told me. He also said he's a huge Caleb Presley fan.
Wait till Dave goes to Dave texts Dusty May just at some point next season. It's just like, give me some picks, Dusty. Who do you like?
So that is Dusty's truly the Barstool difference. Your team just made a history, and the first thing he tells me, I say, what's on your mind? He's like, well, you're a Barstool guy. The highlight of our first weekend was meeting Dave.
Wow. when Dave when at the hotel.
Yeah, we saw him at the hotel after the Memphis win.
When Dave thought they were Fairleigh Dickinson.
Yeah.
And he kept saying, I'm the only one that bet on you guys. And they were like, we're a 9 seed. We won
32 games at the time.
32 games at that point? Yeah. We won 32 games this year.
So,
what do you mean no one believed in us?
Shout out Dusty May, huge stoolie.
Yeah, John L. Davis is a Hoosier too, by the way. Gary, Indiana. Shout out Dusty May and shout out Florida Atlantic as a program for player development with John L. Davis. Like I going back like through you go back through like the story of this Florida Atlantic team. They didn't hit the transfer portal. They don't have 5-star recruits. They are basically the exact same team as last year that went 19 and 15, Jake. Like they didn't.
Yeah, they went to the CBI.
Yeah, but they didn't like bring into, like this is not a story of like I said with San Diego State getting Trammell and obviously Nigel Pack went to Miami, and like that's not how this team won. They won through player development. They won because John L. Davis last year was just like a role player who was okay, and now he's turned into a guy that might be NBA bound at some point in his career. He just that's the difference, and that's the kind of story you want to exalt in this sport and you want to get excited about is a team like that did it the hard way, and it didn't come out of nowhere. They're not a flash in a pan. They're not a fluke. I think they can win this thing. I genuinely do. I don't say that because I think it would be a fun story. I say that because they have proven already that they can hang with anybody. I mean, the way they beat Tennessee, the way they beat Kansas State, they are very much suited for 2 more games. I mean, San Diego State's no better than Kansas State and Tennessee on paper. They're probably obviously playing
2-point spread.
Right now,
SDSU's favored by 2, so like they could easily.
But they have
be in the championship game.
You have a 7'1" eraser as an anchor defensively, and then you just scatter them around with like some hard nosed tough guards that have a chip on their shoulder, and they move the ball in offense. They're interchangeable defensively. It's not how they've done this is not a fluke at all. And I guess like when you zoom out on the Final Four at large, that's kind of the interesting thing about this is that it's kind of like one of those things where what do you call those, the magic eye things where you like have to cross your eyes and pull it back, and is that what it's called? Like a magic eye? What's that?
Getting tested for like
no.
Sight?
You know what what's that? What are those?
It's like an optical illusion.
Optical
magic
illusions?
eye. Yeah, the magic eye images. Let me pull this up. Yeah, it's called a magic eye. Certain people listening know what I'm talking about. Where you like,
I'm just stupid. Yeah.
You put it up to your face and
I
you
see.
like,
I just
pull it back
Googled it.
and you can see like a different picture.
Yeah, I see what you're talking about. Yeah.
So to a casual college basketball fan, this Final Four is absolute shit. We have no 1 seeds, no 2 seeds, no 3 seeds. It's a bunch of teams that have never been there before. It's a UConn team that we're all, we're familiar with the brand, but this coach has never been here before. So is Dan Hurley more Kevin Ollie or is he Jim Calhoun? Like who's this guy? This crazy man on the sideline leading this team. To a casual fan, this might not be a great Final Four. To those of us that have watched the sport all year, you have San Diego State who won the Mountain West and they've won over 30 games at this point, haven't they? And they won the Mountain West tournament. You have Miami that won the ACC. You have UConn team that for long stretches looked like the best team in the country. They never did get up to number 1 in the polls, but who could forget that debate? Remember that? And like over Thanksgiving, and we come out of the PK 85 and we're arguing over whether Purdue or UConn should be number 1 in the country. UConn has looked dominant at times this year. And Florida Atlantic's won the most games in the country.
Mm-hmm.
They've literally won more than anyone else. So when you think about it in that regard, you're like, I mean, these are 4 great teams. None of these are flukes. I genuinely do think that every single one of these teams could win the national championship. And that's even a rarity going into Final Fours, because it does feel like there's always one team that like doesn't belong. People will say it's Florida Atlantic. I mean, I guess, but I guess because of the name brand, but you don't win that many games by accident. They've proven that they can win in a lot of different ways. They can rain threes on you. They can get in a grit and grind game with Tennessee. I think they could easily win the national championship. Of course, UConn looks like a wagon right now too. So I'm pretty fired up about it. I guess that's my long-winded way of saying I'm fired up about this Final Four, because I truly have no idea what to expect, and that is kind of rare because even when you get to a Final Four, there's a pretty clear hierarchy, and I think people will argue it's clearly UConn, and maybe UConn does blow everyone away and win this thing, and it's kind of a ho hum deal, but I don't know. I think all of these teams are in a position where they can. We've seen this UConn team not look great at times this year. UConn is not invincible. They're not even close to it. So if UConn is putting the champagne on ice right now, I mean, they could be in for a rude awakening, especially against, as you said, a Miami team that like could get down, come back if it's a close game like that. They're familiar with that. UConn's not. I don't know.
Yeah, another reason why it's so wide open heading into the Final Four is the draw, right? Because you have the two power conference teams on one side, and then you're guaranteed to get a mid-major team in the championship game.
Right.
So like we said, the SDSU FAU game is probably a coin toss. Then you're in one game to win it all. Like if it was UConn FAU, I think we'd be talking about a different story here, right?
It's true. If it was UConn FAU and San Diego State Miami, it would probably be. I don't know if San Diego State Miami would be a good. I don't know. Right,
but I'm saying
at this point,
we would be saying FAU would be that team that's like, all right, the road's probably
they're gonna
over.
get stomped by UConn,
and then they would have to beat another big team. But now it's like they could win.
But yeah, if they come out against San Diego State and are hitting shots early, as we said, San Diego State guards the three well. Florida Atlantic loves to shoot threes. But if they're hitting like some tough threes, and they kind of get rolling there where they have not a huge lead, but they just kind of like aren't scared of the San Diego State. They don't let San Diego State settle in and create this muddy game. They could easily beat San Diego State. They could look miles better than San Diego State on a certain night. And then once you're in the national championship thing, anything goes at that point. Once you get there.
Oh yeah.
San Diego State is so fascinating because their defense is great, but like good defenses can unravel quickly if you can. I don't know. Jay Wright's a big believer in making shots. I saw him at halftime. He was talking about that. What San Diego State Creighton game? Like what? I think Greg Gumbel asked him what does San Diego State need to do, and he said make shots. And I was like, yes, Jay, yes. Join the movement, Jay.
Yeah.
Join the movement. They have to make shots. Today's show is brought to you by the Barstool Sportsbook. Nobody cares about your bracket, and that's why you need to download the Barstool Sportsbook. Who really needs a bracket when you can just bet on all the action? And the Barstool Sportsbook is the best place to start. Now offering a $100 sign-up bonus for new users. Sign up today using the code TOURNEY, then place a $10 or more cash wager on any college basketball bet. Win or lose, receive $100 in bonus cash. So download and create an account today, and be sure to use code TOURNEY to unlock your $100 in bonus cash. 2 incredible rounds in the books. There were some shocking upsets, and it should only get crazier, so make sure you sign up for an account. You get your $100 bonus, but we also have special bets and picks from Big Cat and Dave, but somehow I can't get on there, TJ, even though I'm 4-0 in my last 4 picks, and I'm, people that are following along are doing nothing but winning, but can't get my picks on the Barstool Sportsbook. That's okay. Big Cat and Dave are there. And great promos like Parlay Insurance, Underdog Insurance, and more. Download the Barstool Sportsbook, create an account today, and be sure to use code TOURNEY to unlock your $100 in bonus cash. Must be 21 plus. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right. I don't know what else.
Well, I mean, we didn't really talk about UConn Gonzaga, but there's not much to talk about.
Oh, yeah. UConn Gonzaga. Absolute blowout.
UConn Gonzaga happened.
UConn Gonzaga happened. And the second Gonzaga loses, especially when they lose like this by, I think it was 28.
28, yeah.
It looked like it was going to be 30 there for a second.
Yeah.
The second Gonzaga gets bounced, the Wolves come in and just start picking apart the Gonzaga carcass and say that they're not made for March, and it's obvious that they, how does this keep happening to Gonzaga? Why do they keep falling short? And I don't understand why. I don't understand why that conversation keeps happening. Like the reason the reason Gonzaga can't ever get over the hump, Jake, is because the hump always changes. It's because everyone keeps moving what the hump is. And like for a long time, it was like Gonzaga can never beat good teams. They can beat up on the bad team. Well, first of all, it's like Gonzaga can never even win in the tournament. Then they started winning, and everyone's like, well, yeah, they're winning, but they're only beating up on the smaller schools. Once they actually have to play the big boys, the 1 seeds, the 2 seeds, the 3 seeds, they can't beat those teams. They beat UCLA. They beat a UCLA team that could have easily won the national championship this year. In the last game. That apparently doesn't count for anything because UConn stomps them. and now we're back to like Gonzaga. Like this Gonzaga team was never supposed to be that great. I don't know. This gets frustrating to me
I
when
think
like it's Gonzaga and the Big Ten are the two things. It's a similar thing. It's like I said with the Big Ten, where like the Big Ten was never even that good. So like if they didn't choke, they just like weren't just like was an off year for the conference. Same thing with Gonzaga. This team was never. I never really felt like they were going to win the national title. Just like you kind of got excited about like them having no pressure in the tournament, but no one was ever like, if this team doesn't make the Final Four, they're frauds. And they made the freaking Elite Eight and lost to the probably the best team, the team that's going to go on to win the title.
I think the worst thing that happened to Gonzaga was going undefeated into the championship game 2 years ago, because that elevated the expectations. If they were a 2 or 3 seed and made the championship, it wouldn't have been as big of a as big of a deal. But they left that on the table, and people are like, all right, if they're not going to win it now with Suggs and Kispert and all of them, when are they going to do it?
They're never gonna do it then. Yeah, that's true. That one was, but you lost to an all-time great team in Baylor. But again, the way they lost, it was like that leaves a bad.
They got smoked. Yeah,
I will point that out. I do think that's a valid thing to point out, is that when the wheels fall off for Gonzaga, it gets really ugly really fast.
Mm-hmm.
And that's valid. But then, who cares? When you're getting to the lead, that's success. That's a successful. When you're a 3 seed and you've made the Elite Eight, you've done it. You don't hang a banner. Don't I'm not saying there should be a parade in Spokane for this, but this was not a failure of a season if you're a 3 seed and you make the Elite Eight. That's a great run. And again, it's not like you lost to a 12 seed in the Elite Eight or something. You lost to a team that's probably going to win the national championship. So
yeah,
it is what it is. Yeah, it would have been nice to not lose by 28, but this Gonzaga team had some obvious flaws all season, and the fact that they got this far, frankly, I'm surprised by it, because I thought they were destined to lose in the first or second round. Like if you would have asked me in mid-January, I didn't think this team was special at all. So anyway, that's my Gonzaga piece.
Yeah,
UConn looks absolutely unstoppable.
Plus 90 in the tournament.
UConn
plus 90 in 4 games.
They are not only the best team left in this tournament, they are the most fun team in the country when they're playing their best basketball. There's just such a like Andre Jackson is everywhere at all times. Jordan Hawkins is my favorite player, I think, in the country. I freaking love that the guy. So he might be the best shooter. He's the way he moves without the ball, and then the way he can get his shot off. I don't think his shooting percentage is as high as some other guys, but he's taking so much more difficult shots and creating so much offense for them through his threat to. He's such a good shooter. He draws a foul. He gets fouled on a 3 once a game. I swear to God, this guy gets fouled on a 3-point jump shot once a game, because defenses are so panicked at the idea of him getting a shot off that they just get too aggressive on closeouts. They have the length and athleticism to disrupt on defense, Jake. They have multiple shooters, including Hawkins, who I said might be the best in the country. They have multiple big men that can dominate the boards. The ball moves all over the place on offense. There's the one flaw that I had that I saw in them when I was watching this year, and they would have some speed bumps, some hiccups, was the point guard play. That Tristan Newton didn't always feel like a point guard. He felt like another wing.
By the way, he's a senior. We were talking about no seniors on UConn. I was wrong. ECU transfer, so I wanted to get that out there.
There you go. Yeah. There you go. Fact check.
Yeah.
But at times this year, I wondered if he's like actually a point guard, or is he just like another wing that like fell into this role of playing point guard because they don't really have a point guard. He's been great for them. He's been a great point guard for UConn lately. They look very much the part. It's not just like the scoring margins; it's how they're going about it. That they look like as flawless of a basketball team as you can find at the college level in 2023. So it makes sense that they're heavy favorites. That Miami game is going to be a ton of fun, because Miami does not care. They don't care what your roster makeup is. They don't care what your style of play is. They're like, cool, man, that's cool. So you guys have been practicing like all year, and you guys have won a lot of games. That's cool. So watch this. We're just gonna go hoop. We're just gonna watch this. We have Isaiah Wong and Nigel Pack, and
we've got who's been on this stage before.
Yeah.
On the sidelines.
We're just gonna go get some buckets if that's cool with you. Good luck stopping us. All right.
But UConn doesn't lose in the Final Four, obviously. Program.
UConn does not lose. They do not lose in the Final Four. Tired of being soft when you should be hard. 40% of men suffer from hormonal imbalances and low testosterone, and no one is willing to talk about it. The average male testosterone level has decreased by 26% over the past 3 decades. The situation is that you have a bunch of guys that are depressed. They don't have energy. They can't focus. They're gaining weight faster. Their libido is gone. But Elevated by Astroflav is an all-natural testosterone booster containing 2 powerful ingredients, Fedosia agrestis and Tonkat Ali. This combination in Elevated has shown results of 250-point increase in total testosterone, but can be anywhere between 200 to 400-point increase, which increases energy, improves libido, reduces stress levels, helps build muscle and burn fat. Elevated by Astroflav has over 500,000 bottles sold to men with amazing results. Get a free 2-week trial of Elevated Natural Testosterone Booster. Just pay shipping. Visit astroflav.com/barstool to try today. All right, I think that might be it. Do you have anything else? Anything else we didn't touch on?
That's it. I'm really pumped for Houston. It's going to be awesome. Obviously, we had the Blue Bloods last year. Going to be a little bit of a different vibe, but like you said, the college basketball fans like us are still going to appreciate it just as much. Maybe not the casual fan, but it's going to be awesome.
Yeah. Are we worried about ratings? Are we worried about ticket prices? Are we worried?
I think Texas losing was a blow. Was a little bit of a blow to both the networks and to the ticket sales. Obviously, with it being in Houston, but yeah, it's going to be crazy seeing 2 teams from South Florida. But then you have the Big East presence, and then San Diego State. I'm not too familiar with like the Mountain West representation and all that. I'd assume they're obviously going to travel very well. It's the Final Four, but yeah,
San Diego State will travel well. Their fans are crazy.
Yeah, I don't know much about their fans, but
they have a great fan base. They have a great fan base.
You see them in Maui? Were they in Maui?
Yeah, they were in Maui. So was Creighton. This is they got the San Diego State at the end of the season. Now I guess they are the one team that got the Maui bump, as it turns out. All along, we thought it might be Arizona because they won the thing. Creighton lost Arizona in a close game in the championship, but in the end, it was San Diego State. Yeah, San Diego State, Creighton were both there. They never played. Arkansas was there too.
Yeah,
I got excited when the Sweet 16 broke because there were a lot of Maui teams left in this thing. But no, San Diego State fans are great, and they've been very vocal about my Mountain West takes. But as I've tried to point out to them, all this proves to me is that San Diego State is not a Mountain West team. They're a Pac-12 team. This is all this, like simply by making the Final Four, you have proven that you're not a Mountain West
It's
team.
Basically like Gonzaga and the WCC, right? There's the WCC and there's Gonzaga. Now it's San Diego State and the Mountain West.
I said this about Michigan State when heading into the Sweet 16. When I was talking about, I did a long rant on Izzo. That you can talk all the shit you want on the Big Ten, and it's deserved at this point. But Michigan State is the one team that like can always break through the narrative of the Big Ten, no matter who's on the roster or whatever. Like they will always find a way to.
Michigan makes runs too.
Michigan makes runs too, but we don't talk about Michigan on this show, Jake. So we're gonna stick with Michigan.
Yeah. You're right.
I'm kidding.
You're a Buckeye.
Yeah, Michigan State's like they're not a Big Ten school. They're Michigan State. Mm-hmm. You know, like that program is not a Big Ten program. That's Michigan State.
Right.
That's San Diego State. They're the one program that's not Mountain West. They're not a Mountain West program. They're San Diego State. They don't count.
Yeah.
Manifesto stands by. We might put a little asterisk next year that San Diego State is not a Mountain West school, but we still stand by the Mountain West being frauds in the tournament. But also congratulations to San Diego State. But also I think this just proves that you're actually a Pac-12 school. So there you go. That's the final thing. Also manifesto stuff. Dan Hurley winning the title as a crazy coach would undermine that whole point, wouldn't it? So
yeah, I think
I have to revisit that one.
I think
I have to revisit
Dutcher May.
Dutcher's not crazy.
No, I'm just starting Dutcher. To lump him in. I think Dutcher May and Coach Larinaga. The only time Larinaga is crazy is in the locker room dancing.
Yeah, and it's like a happy crazy. That's not like a Yeah.
He plays into the grandpa role really well. Like he's open about it, and I think that's what makes that culture great. I know we talked about it earlier, but
yeah. You have any shout outs otherwise? Or you TJ? TJ, do you have a mic? You have a mic, don't you?
Yeah.
I was just gonna ask, last year obviously Duke, North Carolina, Kansas, Villanova. This year Connecticut, Florida Atlantic, San Diego State, Miami. What's the marker of a better tournament? Which result? The Blue Bloods or a bunch of not Blue Bloods?
I don't think it's brands. I think the perfect tournament is you have a ton of chaos in week one or weekend, the first weekend, a ton of upsets, and everyone's like, oh my god, a 16-1, and did you see that Kihei Clark pass? And we have all that, but then when the dust settles, you have the best teams still there, and I don't think this tournament. I don't think these are these clearly aren't the four best teams we saw all season, but these teams are better than their seed and their their name brand would lead you to believe. So I give this a B plus tournament, Jake. I give this a B plus. Like I don't, the name brand does nothing for me because I don't like if Bama's never been to a final, or like have they been to a Final Four? I don't think they have. Have they? They've never been to a Final Four. Alabama. Like if it was Alabama, Marquette, Gonzaga and
Texas.
Like some of these schools that like we don't see. I guess we've seen Gonzaga a lot in recent years, but some of these schools that we haven't seen a lot of at the Final Four. But I felt like they were some of the best teams all year. I have less of a problem with it. The name on the front of the jersey means nothing to me.
Right.
It's more of like, have you been good all season, or did you just get hot for a couple weeks?
I just thought,
and I feel like these teams have been good all season.
Yeah, I just thought of a quick exercise. You know how the AP poll comes out like after the championship, which is weird? What if we just reseed right now? Like, say this was their resume, these four teams. What seeds would they be? Because they can all move up since they were lower seeds.
Okay, so Florida Atlantic would clearly not be a 9.
Right.
There's an argument that they shouldn't have been a 9 in the first place. So
I'd say they're like a 4 or 5 heading into the
I would say they're a 4 or 5. They feel like a 4 or 5.
UConn's like a 2.
UConn's definitely at least a 2. Yeah. And if up until this point, like if so far in the tournament what we've seen, those 4 games that UConn has won was like the Big East tournament, and it was like the lead up to the NCAA tournament, and then now we're seeding UConn. I think they maybe played themselves into one. With recency bias, like people would be arguing like they just rolled through the Big East tournament. Did you see that 4 straight wins?
Okay, so UConn's a 1, FAU's a 4, Miami's probably a 2 or a 3,
3 maybe,
and then SDSU
3.
They were a 5 also.
But Miami beat Houston and Texas, who are
Miami's more impressive than SDSU, I'd say.
I would agree with that. But SDSU beat Bama. Okay, yeah. So Miami's more impressive because Houston and Bama cancel each other out, and then I think the Texas win today for Miami.
Yeah,
and they beat Indiana, who is a good.
So basically, we have the top 2 teams according to our reseeds playing each other, and then the lower 2 teams playing each other, which is why we said it's wide open because it's not exactly even.
I would have UConn as a 1, Miami as a 3, probably San Diego State and Florida Atlantic probably as 4s.
Okay,
I have them both as 4s probably.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
That was a fun exercise. Yeah, I've never thought about.
This is Selection Sunday, 2 weeks later. And
then
Purdue, what would Purdue drop to? After losing to Fairleigh Dickinson, a 1 to like a 6?
With me, that would drop into a 6. With the selection committee, they would stay a 1.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Purdue losing all season and then somehow still being ranked.
Like imagine if it was non-conference games heading into Selection Sunday. You can't have an atrocious loss unless you're like in the ACC and you lose to Louisville this year. Yeah.
That's a great point. I think UConn would
UConn would be a 1. UConn would be a 1.
There's just so much
with Purdue dropping to a 6 seed. It opens the door for UConn to be a 1.
That's right. There's the new one. Yeah, it's UConn. Well, Alabama would fall off too. And I guess that's how this works. When you lose, it's not as impressive. But God, I'm so mad at Nate Oates. Quick break to talk about Coors Light. There's nothing like the excitement of the big tournament, but every buzzer beater for your team is someone else's bracket buster, and every game is a chance to turn the tables. When your pride or your money is on the line and you need to take a beat, take a moment to chill with an ice-cold Coors Light. Do what I did. I got back to L.A. The Kansas State Florida Atlantic game was coming up. I walked on over to my favorite bar here in Marina Del Rey, Tony P's. I walk in. The bartender, I go there enough, looks me in the eye, says, "Give me a second." Turns around, hands me a Coors Light, because that's what I do. I go to Tony P's. I watch basketball. I drink Coors Light. You should be doing the same. There's only one beer out there that's literally made to chill, and that's Coors Light. When the mountains turn blue, it's as cold as the Rockies. When you need to hit reset, just crack open an ice-cold Coors Light. It is mountain cold refreshment made to chill. Get Coors Light and the newsletter delivered straight to your door with Drizzly or Instacart by going to CoorsLight.com/Titus. Celebrate responsibly. Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. All right, I have some shout outs. I want to shout out the Ohio State women's basketball team taking down Gino Auriemma and UConn. 14 straight Final Fours, Jake, for UConn. Snapped, gone. Buckeyes. We were heavy underdogs, I think, and we smoked UConn. Smoked them. Yeah, so I just wanted to shout out the ladies because we play Virginia Tech tomorrow. I think we're 2-point underdogs. I feel good about it. Virginia Tech's the 1 seed. That's exactly where we want to be. We run that press. JC Sheldon and the ladies just playing great basketball. Coach McGuff's got them locked in. We've had some injury problems, Jake, all year. We haven't been able to stay fully healthy, but we're putting it together at the right time. And I've always said Ohio State is a women's basketball school.
Yeah.
And I just find it interesting. We live in these times where people talk about equality and how how important it is to value men and women on the same level, but then everyone wants to get in my face and say Buckeye basketball is dead. So how can that be, Jake? How can Buckeye basketball be dead when the ladies are marching on? It can't be.
So true. You guys struggled a little bit in that first game against PFT's James Madison Dukes.
Yeah, we were down
they loosened up a little.
Yeah, yeah. And we had a close one with Carolina. We beat them by 2. But we're rolling, baby. We're rolling. So now that I mentioned it on the show, I'm sure Virginia Tech will smoke us, and that'll be that. So anyway,
yeah.
Anything else, TJ, Jake?
Alex Earl's reign continues at Miami.
Who's reign?
Alex Earl, you don't know about her?
No, who's that?
Look her up on TikTok. She's a rising star.
I don't know who that is either.
Alex Earl?
Earle.
Alex Earl. All right.
Earl. She's kind of taken over
Earl.
the internet.
Who is she? What is she?
So
how is she?
She used to be the girlfriend of MLB shortstop Tyler Wade, and then had like a public breakup, and ever since then she's sort of just become just like a social media superstar, and Miami's been on top ever since. She goes to Miami.
She's a Miami
Senior
girl?
Yeah.
Obviously. Oh, okay. All right. Well, she's gonna single-handedly bring Miami football back.
I wouldn't be surprised if she shows up in Houston.
Jake, you're cheering for Miami, South Florida, or Miami.
Yeah, I want an FAU Miami.
Florida Atlantic Miami for the South Florida.
I would love for that,
yeah.
but like I love Dan Hurley too. He's on part of my take today. How can you not like him too? So
yeah.
Either way, I'll be happy. As long I mean, I don't really.
You're just not cheering against. You're just cheering against. San Diego
I'm like
State.
neutral. I don't really have a connection
But I'm
to
cheering.
San Diego State.
I think I'm cheering for. No, we're cheering for Florida Atlantic. But I got a lot of San Diego State people in my life. Believe it or not, living in LA, you meet.
That's
a lot
true.
Of,
all right, so combined,
so
we'll be happy for some reason.
We'll cheer. I'm gonna cheer for the left side winner. Just why not at this point?
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm not going to cheer for anything. How about that? How about I just don't
I'm going to
cheer?
cheer.
I'm just not going to cheer.
I'm going to cheer for FAU in game 1.
Okay.
And then if FAU wins game 1, yeah. But we're neutral on press row.
I've never, you know what? In all my years, in my 35 years on this planet, Jake, I've never really given much thought to the FAU San Diego State rivalry, and I haven't really thought about where I fall in that.
I was thinking about
what if San Diego State and FAU play each other in the Final Four? Who would I cheer for?
I was thinking about tweeting a Twitter poll right after SDSU won today, like battle of the great weather, but no, it's San Diego. Boca can get hot and humid. I don't know if San Diego gets that hot and humid as consistently as Boca.
And UConn throws a wrench in all that.
Yeah,
it could have been double battle of good weather, you know.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
If UCLA made it out of the West, could have had UCLA, Miami, San Diego State, and Florida Atlantic.
Yeah,
if only. Shout out to De'Aaron Fox, by the way, who said he's not watching March Madness. Shout out to him for that. So that was cool.
The NBA regular season.
Yeah,
it just find the intensity. Where is it?
I love basketball people. I love the basketball civil war that just like only for some reason exists in basketball, but like nothing else. And I don't understand. I don't understand why this is a basketball thing. I don't understand the NBA elitism. That's like I would never watch a lower level thing. It's like saying you would only go see movies that are nominated for Oscars, and I would never go see a Top Gun. Or I guess Top Gun was nominated for Oscars. Yeah. Bad example. But like, I'm not going to go see that action movie. Why would I see that? That's not one of the best movies. That's how NBA people talk about college basketball. It's very bizarre. And also from a guy who cried, Jake. He cried. He lost in the Elite Eight and cried. We all saw it. Him and Bam Adebayo were crying in the locker room because it meant so much to him. I don't know. The culture war rages on, as it turns out.
Yeah.
You and I are gonna have to fight the good fight.
Brutal.
We'll do what we can. I'm curious to see how San Diego State, Florida Atlantic, and Miami being in the Final Four helps with the helps win over America. But either way, we'll be excited because these are 4 good teams. I do believe that genuinely, that all 4 of these teams are very deserving, not just because they won these games, but they've been great teams all year, and it'll be fun to watch these games unfold. Thanks so much, Jake. We'll be doing. You're gonna be back on the show at some point. We'll talk about the Final Four games and all that kind of stuff. I'm doing shows this week, but
we'll both be in Houston too. So
you're going Thursday.
I'm going down Thursday. Yeah.
Yeah. Are we doing a live show, TJ? By the way, people are asking me.
Oh yeah,
that.
you have the details. I don't know.
2 live shows, times TBA, but Houston Friday evening, Saturday before the games.
Do we know where yet? Are we
I don't know.
I don't know.
Kirby Ice House is the name of the bar.
Okay.
Kirby Ice House Friday and Saturday, huh?
Yep.
And it'll be like the whole crew, right?
I believe it'll be Dave, Dan, you, PFT. I don't know who else is going down there.
Yeah, no, the whole PMT crew will be down there.
No Brandon.
No Brandon. Maybe guests.
Yes.
I know that. I know Dave wants to maybe bring Fanta on.
Yeah, Dave and Fanta have this little rivalry now about the Coolie thing. Have you seen that?
Yeah, I did. I saw it. Yeah, I woke up. By the way, shout out Fanta. I woke up this morning to text at 12:53 a.m.
I got the same thing.
Said,
I got a D. He asked my number and he DM'd me at 2:14.
Waking up to a text from Fanta that says, "Are you up by chance?"
I got the same exact thing. And then what'd you say?
This man was on one. Yeah. This man was on one last night. Yeah. Oh my god.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see him in Houston.
Yeah. I want to know what this is about. I can't believe you were in the same boat.
He was just firing him up, dude. He's just firing up booty calls left and right. He's throwing out a bunch of lines, man. He's going fishing.
Yeah.
He's seeing who's biting.
Yeah, we love Fanta, though. We're excited to see him.
Jake, you're the man. Thanks for doing this.
Yeah,
appreciate
thank you.
it.
See you in Houston. Can't wait.
About the Elite Eight games and the Final Four is set. Congrats to all the squads. We will see you guys in Houston.